Us right now, live from Toronto, TFC President Bill Manning. Bill, welcome to Red Card, my friend.
How you doing, Anthony? Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. We really appreciate you making time to join us, Bill. And we wanted to get you on first and foremost to welcome you to Toronto, but also let's talk a little bit about getting ready for this 2016 season. But let's talk personally first and foremost, yourself. The transition up here to Canada, to Toronto, it's easy for people to think it's just done overnight. But let's not forget, there's a family involved. You have to settle in, a new culture, a new life. Talk about it. Have you settled in? How's your family doing? And what are some of the things that you have learned that you didn't expect coming up here to Toronto?
Well, Toronto is much bigger than I thought. It hasn't been a bad transition in terms of a lifestyle. I grew up in New York, and Toronto's kind of a big city, very ethnically diverse, lots of great restaurants, which has been fabulous. And I've had, the opportunity to move in my career to different locations. So my wife and I kind of knew what to expect, and MLSE has been great in the transition with my family, and we felt nothing but being welcomed by TFC supporters and folks like yourself, Anthony. When I first met you, we had a great meeting and a lot of similar thought processes, and so it's been a really good transition. I'm really pleased with it. My wife is enjoying Toronto, and she loved Utah. My younger boy is going to school here now, and we bought a home up in King City that we're going to close on in May. So no complaints. I'm really, really enjoying the city, though. It's a big metropolis. It's definitely a world-class city, and a lot of soccer fans here. A lot of soccer fans, a lot of TFC fans. The one thing I do here is just don't disappoint us like the past, and that's something that weighs on me every day, is to try to really get TFC, this ship we have, sailing in the right direction and success for many years to come.
Well, let's get right into it, though. A lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth, myself included, as a proud Torontonian, in that playoff loss against the Montreal Impact. We just had on Jeff Carlisle of ESPN, Ives Galarcep, Soccer by Ives. We did all our predictions. I told you face to face, I truly believe, Bill, this is the year you'll challenge for top spot in the Eastern Conference and get to the final. What are your expectations for this club, knowing that you're going to start on the road? It's going to be a long road trip. What are your expectations for this club this year?
Look, I think we want to be a championship contender, so no bones about that. And I want to be a franchise, though, that can be a championship contender, not just for this year, for the next 4 to 5, next 5 years, for as long as you could see. And that does not happen overnight. I do think a lot of the foundation was built last year, and so as you see, this was not an overhaul for us. This was a very targeted approach to the off season. We still had some announcements and some things we needed to do in the last few days to get salary cap compliant, but we're going to be. And I think this is a team that from day one should go out and be a team that can compete for a championship. You're right. The first 8 games is going to be very difficult. My fear would be that we get buried in the standings, but I think as long as we can hang in there and kind of survive those first 8 games and not get buried, I actually think this team can then kind of regroup, and in some ways that'll bring the team together. And then I think when we get our homestands, we can go on a run. So. The one thing I'm cautious of is we haven't done anything yet, right? We did make the playoffs last year, and that was a good monkey off the back for TFC, but we have to prove ourselves this year. As you know, you can't just walk on the field and teams, we're playing TFC, we're playing Juvenco, we're playing Josie, we're going to roll over. That doesn't happen, and so we still got to get it done in the field, but I think the pieces are in place for us to do that.
Bill, since day one, I was yelling and screaming about bringing a quality Italian player in. They did that last year. Finally, it paid off. MVP Giovinco, he is the real deal. I believe again this year he'll be the real deal. But I've said this before Giovinco arrived here. I thought that the guy that really mixes the drink for TFC, the guy that I tell my sons to watch, is Michael Bradley. He is the price of admission. He's fearless. He'll go through a brick wall for his team. And I believe this is an important year for him, for the city, and for his nation, the US of A. But the key offseason acquisitions, character guys you brought in, I think are going to help insulate him with guys like Drew Moore, Will Johnson, you know him well, Clint Irwin, and Stephen Beitashour. I think this is key that you've brought important character guys in the locker room. Talk about it.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, any championship team, when you hear guys, even Brendan Shanahan, I was talking to him about the Detroit Red Wings and some of the championship Stanley Cup winning teams he played on, and he was talking to me about the character of the guys in the locker room, the winners. That when he looks back on that team, he talks about what good teammates he had. And guys of high character, and then guys that knew how to dig down, that knew how to win. And I think that was really important to us in the offseason, bringing in a guy like Drew Moore, who's been a champion both in college and in MLS. Will Johnson's won a championship with me at Real Salt Lake, and came back with injury with Portland, but again, he was part of that fabric that led to a championship in Portland. Very, very important, I think, to have that kind of locker room character mentality. You mentioned Michael. I've had the chance to get to know Michael a bit now since I've been in town, and you know soccer well, Anthony, because he's a guy that he's not going to show up in a lot of statistics. He's not going to show up in terms of leaders and goals or assists, whatever. But at the end of the day, you need guys like him if you're going to win. And he brings a lot of intangibles to our team, and he's more of a leader like a Steve Yzerman was for the Detroit Red Wings in hockey. That he's a bit of a quiet leader, but he gets it done in the field, and is the ultimate professional. I was highest compliment I could give him is my dad asked me what he was like, and I said I wish my son could turn out like him. So I really feel very strongly about him. You mentioned Javenko. I had dinner with him, and we had a funny conversation because we talked about a championship, and I said, what would you want, to win MVP again or win a championship? He said, no, win a championship first and foremost. But I want to win MVP too, And so he says, I want both, and that's great, right? But he said first he wants to win a championship, and that to me is what you need. Guys that have that goal, and it's not one player. They realize that it is a team, and I think we saw that last year with the 3 designated players. But we still weren't a championship quality team. We needed to add some other high character, high talent players around them that hopefully can bring us to on a winning path.
Bill, a couple guys that their names are out there today, possibly being up with the first team. Mo Babuli, who I know quite well, Jordan Hamilton, 2 young Canadian prospects. Let's turn our attentions now to TFC Academy, TFC2. TFC Academy will be playing again in League One Ontario, where Kyle Lauren came out of Richie Laria. So many players from TFC have graduated up to TFC2. And also TFC2, a real important piece of the puzzle of the family of TFC to help graduate players ahead, like Quinlan Roberts. Talk about how important all these things are moving ahead. Talk to the technical directors out there in Ontario. Make them understand how important it is for everyone to be on the same path.
I think it's critical. It's critical in our development. We saw guys in training camp this year who played a number of minutes last year with TFC2. Chris Manella, Mo, who you mentioned. Luca is another player, young player, 17 years old, but he was hanging in there with the first-team guys, and you're seeing a glimpse of the future. What I've been most pleased with Mo is every time he's gotten on the field, he didn't care who he was playing against. He didn't care. He wasn't intimidated. And he's 23 now, so he's becoming a man. But I really like the fact that he just went out and he tried stuff, and he was creative, and he's a guy that I think this year is going to get first-team minutes, and I think he's going to have a very, very good year with TFC2, but he's going to get first-team minutes because he's earned them. Jordan is younger. Jordan is 19 years old. Still a bit, he's still raw, I'd say. Has flashes, and that's what you tend to get with the young players. You get a little inconsistency. What we'll look for him is to get a little stronger mentally, a little stronger physically, And as he grows into a man, he's still a kid, and so we still need more patience with him. Mo was clearly a guy that impressed in training camp, and someone, as a local Canadian player, you just love to see that, and that's the magic for TFC too. So as we come up with our academy program, and as some of the other teams and youth clubs here in Toronto build their players up, we hope that pathway leads to Toronto FC, because look, you could have a team full of homegrowns, right? But it's probably a mixture of homegrown players that you get internationally, players you get from within the league. But it's finding the right chemistry and the right balance. But I certainly would like to build it internally if we can. That would be for me the ideal scenario.
Couple other things, and then we'll let you go. We really appreciate your time, Bill. But you mentioned Luca Uccello. You're mentioning a lot of guys there. And I was doing a flashback to the summer here where AS Roma, Primavera squad, was taking on TFC2, and I was speaking to Alberto De Rossi, the father of Daniela De Rossi. He is the head coach there, and we were talking in Italian throughout the game and at halftime, and he was salivating at the amount of talent that he was saying to me in Italian. Anthony, I wish I could take a handful of these guys back with me to Italy. He says, the talent here, I didn't know that it existed. Why weren't we alerted of this? And, he was looking at profiles, and he was seeing something that you saw. The look in the eyes of these players, that they weren't afraid and they were fearless. And I think this is a great quality to have. That is.
I mean, you look at, I remember when Clint Mathis first came into MLS, and he had a chip on his shoulder, and he wound up having a great career, and a lot of people didn't know about Clint, coming up through the youth systems, but his coaches knew, right? And then all of a sudden, when he got on the big stage, he wound up turning into an all-star and a national team player for the U.S. So, I love the fact that Luca at 17 years old scored a goal in an exhibition for us in training camp. This is what we want, and that's what the USL will give us. It gives these guys minutes against older, bigger, stronger competition. Even our seniors squad, so our senior TFC Academy squad playing in League One, they're playing against young men, and it is great preparation for them as they become professionals. I'm really excited. Our Generation Adidas team, which is essentially our U.S. under-17 team, qualified for the international group of the GA Cup, which is the Generation Adidas Cup for MLS. One of only 6 MLS teams to qualify, where we'll play against other international teams. And our division is Valencia and the Mexican under-17 national team. With FC Dallas and ourselves, and we'll play that in Dallas in March, and it just shows you the talent that is here in Toronto, and it should be. It's a large market, similar to New York, similar to LA, similar to Chicago. I think some of the best talent in North America resides here, and we're going to try to, over the next 5 years, work even closer with the Ontario Soccer Association, the existing academies. I really want to try to build those relationships, and them to understand, as you mentioned, the coaching directors understand we're not the enemy. We're all trying to build soccer players, and we're trying to be the preferred outlet, I think I would say, for Toronto and Ontario-born players. And over the next few years, we're really going to try to infiltrate, and I mean that in a good way, the youth soccer community, and try to build alliances throughout so that we can build our first team. You'd love to see more Jonathan Osarios and Chris Manellas and Jay Chapmans. That's what we want to see.
In 30 seconds or less, Bill, time is our worst enemy as we're going to get on Carl Ouimet of the New York Red Bulls. I want you to talk about Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. They believed in you, and I've said this for the last 10 years. They've taken a lot of shots where I don't believe are deserved. Some, yes, but I got to tell you, all they've ever done is open up their checkbook. They've signed it. They've handed over Defoe, Bradley, Jovinko. We could go on and on. They've never said a word, and I think they have been the ideal owner in this city and in MLS. All they've ever wanted to do is win and win today. Talk about how great it is to work for an ownership group like that.
Well, Larry Tannenbaum, the chairman, has been wonderful, and he's part of the reason I came here. When I first met him, I just felt he was the kind of guy I wanted to work for as chairman of the board. And he's someone I think everyone here wants to win for. The one thing which I was concerned about, which is completely being alleviated, is that TFC would be kind of a stepchild to the Raptors and the Maple Leafs, and it has been completely the opposite. They make sure across the board, all the platforms, ticket sales, marketing, everything, that we are right there with the Maple Leafs and the Raptors, and that was very, very important to me. And you can tell they're writing checks and they're putting resources behind this franchise because they believe in it. They believe in Major League Soccer, and so I have no qualms at all. If there was any mistake that MLSE has made, it's been a lot of the change, right? There's been a lot of change at the management levels and the coaching levels, and I think that was one thing when I met with them. I told them that we need more consistency, we need more of a foundation, and TFC will continue to spin their wheels if they're constantly churning. And then my goal is to really keep this ship going steady. And MLSE has given me the resources. I can't imagine a better ownership group for me in this position.
Well, it's refreshing. It's fantastic to have a guy that understands the game on and off the pitch, a guy that is a pure soccer guy. Welcome to Toronto. Good luck in 2016. You and I have discussed a dinner is on the table. I believe you'll win the Eastern Conference, and after that, who knows? But good luck, and we really appreciate you making time again, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Anthony. Enjoyed it.
Class act, Bill Manning, president of TFC. Really enjoyed having him on.